Welcome to Expedition New Direction, Chapter 3, Moab and Beyond.
When we wake, hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done. Oh, the good times just begun. We know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy, but things are finally right. With you and I, the future is bright.
After exiting the Rimrocker Trail in Colorado due to inclement weather, we decided to continue on to Moab using the highway. It rained off and on during the drive, but ended up being a beautiful afternoon by the time we arrived. On our way there, we heard from our good friends that they were coming to Moab as well, and were arriving within an hour of us getting there. We had no idea that they would be there. We hadn't seen each other since last fall. A pleasant surprise. By the time we rolled into downtown, Terry and I were both a bit hungry. After driving through and checking out the town, we decided pizza sounded good. We found a pizzeria right off the main street and decided to give it a try. Wise choice. The pizzas were fantastic. Afterwards, we stopped in to say a quick hello to our friends who had just arrived. We didn't visit too long. We still had to find a location and set up camp for the night. We hopped back on the Rimrocker Trail for a few miles and found a great spot to camp. It was a little breezy atop the cliff edge, but the views were spectacular. You have to expect some wind when you are in the desert.
I am sitting on a rock overhang outside of Moab, looking at the La Salle Mountains touching the sky, and the red rocks below like guardians of the land. All of this holds such sacredness. Both harshness and magnificence are experienced here. These lands hold ancient energy and wisdom. On the rock ledge I sit upon, varying neutral colors and textures blend into the formations, lending a sort of remembering of the many eras of their creation. As I pan out into the small canyon below that holds a wash, I see juniper trees, sages, and even a few tenacious evergreens that create a contrast that draws the eye in swiftly. All of this mixed into layers and layers of rock. The only resemblance of soil here is the sand that is always present in deserts. Beyond this, as the walls on the other side of this wash rise up into the vastness of the red rock clumpings, they add so much more texture and color to this mostly neutral landscape. At least that is how most humans would see it, I feel. For me, everything is always so neutral, yet so filled with contrast. If present, both will always be observed. Next, the landscape rises into the La Salle Mountains. I'm looking at the most amazing peak that has much exposed above the tree line. In its current state, it is most perfect and majestic, a giant in the landscape of eastern Utah. However, I stop and gaze at it for a bit and imagine it also in the winter and spring, covered in snow, giving the mountain a whole other look and feel. It is currently early July, and the intensity of summer is felt. But somehow, the ever-constant wind and occasional rolling clouds make it manageable. The lushness of the green in the desert right now is truly a sight to see. Finally, my view ends with the endless blue sky that acts as the most delicious backdrop to this current world of mine. The thick clouds that were present this morning have rolled out, leaving only a few soft, puffy hints. I will now sit on the ledge while drinking my morning coffee before packing up camp. These are the moments I live for. Every single now moment.
The next day, after coffee and a bite to eat, we continued down the Rimrocker. The terrain was beautiful and the trail was fun to explore. We stopped many times to wander around on foot, setting up and photographing the scenery. There is something very special about the desert. Its unique environment affords ample opportunities for photography. Terri and I continued exploring throughout the afternoon on the trails. Eventually, the weather took a turn, and the forecasted rains began to fall. We decided to go ahead and exit the trail. The conditions were worsening, and there was no reason to take risks or damage the track. So we ventured a few miles and found a route out. We made it back to the area where we camped previously and decided to spend more time there. It was mostly rock and gravel, better ground in the rainy weather. The winds were high, so we found a spot closer to a rock outcropping. It helped a little, but it was still a windy night. Since the temperatures were rising and the wet weather was challenging, we decided to head further north. We will be back in this area again on our return trip anyway, and the temps will be moderate by then.
I've said it many times, I know I would change my ways, I know for sure. When all the crows decide to meet, they settle down beneath my feet. I've got it right and I got it wrong, but I learned my lesson hanging on. Come sit here with me by the fire and let it go for a little while. So be here as the night starts falling. Let my fingers walk over your head. We got nothing to be scared of. I'd rather be with you than by myself. is in your hands. When I was young, I thought control would lead me to an ending road, and heavy metal seemed to be the only thing that was for me. And I saw the angels coming down, and they sang a song and sang it loud. And I still remember parts of it, and the yellow glorious were lit. Won't you be my guide and let me follow? Can I hold your hand for old time's sake? And all this time you waited for me. Little did we know, I guess it's fate. Now all is in our hands. All is in our hands. All is in our hands.
Good morning. We are currently in the Wasatch National Forest just south of Camas, Utah. Yesterday we left Moab, Utah and started driving up this direction. We've stayed here before. In fact, we spent quite a bit of time here last summer. We camped in this area in a few different spots for a relatively long period last year, but we knew this was here, so we went ahead and came up to this area. Now, when we got here last night, it was already, the sun had already went down. It was getting pretty dark, so it was a little more difficult to find a spot, considering this is 4th of July weekend. Today's 4th of July. Happy 4th of July. As we were driving up the road through the forest here, we come across a little side trail. So we decided, let's check it out. And we found a little we found a little place to park up here, big enough for us to spend the night. We don't know if we're staying for a couple more days here or if we're just gonna move on. Because we're on our way up into Idaho. Terry's still in the tent sleeping. I'm having my coffee. Anyway, it's a beautiful morning. It's a little chilly. We came from Moab where the lows were probably in the mid 70s. Well, sometimes if it was raining it was a little cooler, but during the day I think it got up to 103 or 105 one day. It was pretty warm. Anyway, I think it was 51 when I got up this morning. It's pleasant to sleep though. It was cozy. Still have quite a bit of mud on here from Moab. As I mentioned, we had spent a lot of time in the Wasatch National Forest last summer earlier in the season. We explored the area and found groves of aspen trees and pine, meadows with wildflowers, and numerous beaver dams which extended all along the stream. I spent multiple days sitting and observing at a few beaver ponds, but the elusive large rodents never made any appearances. It didn't matter. My time there was pleasant and peaceful. Besides having to deal with the pesky insects from time to time. Even though we didn't see any beaver here, we did see numerous bird species, mule deer, and lots of marmots. It was the time of year when the young yellow-bellied marmots started to come out of their dens. They spent their days exploring and playing in the warm sun. Join us for our next chapter of Expedition New Direction as we venture further north towards Idaho. We stop off in the Cache National Forest near Bear Lake, Utah for a few days to get some work done and rest up before continuing on. The landscapes were beautiful and the adventures had yet to be written. Thank you for coming along with us on our journey as we are living inspired outdoors. Please subscribe and click the notification bell to follow us on our overlanding and photography adventures. If you enjoyed our content, give us a like. It helps us get our story out to others. Thank you again for your support, and we'll see you again very soon.